has the been since I saw thee on Ilkla Moor Baht. Where has the been since I saw thee?
I'm parked on the A4 between, can you see it, Silbury Hill, the largest mound in Britain, I think it's in Europe actually, and up there, and I hate climbing it, you probably can't see it very well, but on the skyline is West Kennet Long Barrow, and I really hate that climb up there, especially as I've got a bit of a disaster. I've forgotten my wellies, and from experience I usually need my wellies, particularly to get over the stream that runs from Swallowhead Spring on the little concrete bridge. But we'll see. Sorry about all the traffic, but it is the A4. So I know a lot of you want me to climb up Silbury Hill, but last time I did, halfway down, my hip locked up and I had to slide down on my bum, so I'm not going to do it again. I'm just going to head up to the Long Barrow. I might delay on my way up, well I will delay on my way up because of my physical abilities, but a huge group of, I think they were Dutch from what they were speaking, Dutch tourists, have just got out of a minibus and wandered past me off towards the Barrow. So I was hoping for a bit of solitude up there, but I think I'm going to be in a concert party, well a coach party anyway. Well, this makes a change. The spring is actually flowing down the side of the track instead of across the track and flooding it, though I dare say it has in the past. See, the stream is down there and the spring rises a good, what, foot or so above it. That's what's that in foreign, 25 centimetres, is it? 30, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm quite pleased because so far I haven't needed my wellies. My God, I've made it, and only 2 stops to catch my breath and avoid an incipient heart attack. So that's the top of the hill, still overrun by Dutch tourists. Silbury Hill on the way down. So provided it's dry or dryish inside the barrow, I'll not have missed my wellies after all. I'm sat on my little stool at the top of the hill waiting for the Dutch invasion to get fed up and go home, but at present they seem to be enjoying themselves climbing all over tops at barrows. I've never heard of soil erosion. Probably English Heritage's fault, because they say from the top of the barrow you get a good view of Silbury Hill and all that crap. But then English Heritage are a private company, they're not really interested in preserving heritage. It's like National Trust, they're in it to make money as well. No one really gives a bugger about the monuments, provided they keep pulling tourists in and getting people to join. Oh well, bitterness over. I'll just show you a couple of things. Can you see that dip straight in front of us? That's actually like a waist in the Long Barrow, a narrowing. So the theory is it was built in two parts. This wider part that's got the chambers, corridor and chambers in it, and then that other bit which is just soil. Now it was built about what, 3,700 years ago, 3,650 I think the powers that be say, by the early Neolithic, who used excavation to have the bones stripped of flesh and then deposited bones, selected bones, skulls, legs, arms, whatever, in the chambers, sometimes in family groups, sometimes just scattered. There don't seem to be any sort of pattern to it in different barrows. I think this type, is it the Cotswold 7 type? Well, the 7 Cotswold type, a corridor with chambers off it, as opposed to the Dorset type Long Barrow, which is a corridor type, just a long corridor with things dumped in it. When it was in use for about 1,000 years, from 3,700, 3,600 BC, for about 1,000 years, until the arrival of the Beaker people, when they invaded, supplanted the early Neolithic religions, and the barrow were basically filled in, the corridor were just filled in, and a false entrance made with big sarsen stones put across it to make it look like a door, but it were a false entrance that filled it all in. I can't remember when it were dug out again. A date of 1955 seems to be stuck in my head, but I don't think it were. I'll have a look at the information board later. And it's since been restored. I think it even has a roof light in it at one point. It's been restored back to an original sort of entrance, corridor and chambers. So we'll have a look in a minute when I can get there for all the tourists. Been taking photographs of each other for 20 minutes, but I think I'll fold my stool up. Oh, they may have finished taking photographs, I don't know. They've been at it 20 minutes, all taking photographs of each other lined up in front of the sarsens. Right, this is the modified entrance to the barrow, since they built this little, I suppose, antechamber of sarsens. But right, let's cast some light on the subject. Oh, hang on, I've got a... I may have disturbed a bat or a bird that's nesting. So this is the first side chamber on the left. I think there were 46 people or bits of people buried here. It were a bird. This is the second chamber on the right, both by the entrance. As I say, it's been restored, but how much it's been restored, I'm not sure. Third chamber, just to be perverse, on the right. Fourth chamber on the left, second on the left. So it's a fairly standard layout. If you've ever been in Hetty Pegler's Tump up in Gloucestershire, laid out exactly the same way, except the rod stone from it. But yeah, quite a interesting. As I said, they've put a concrete lump up there. Once again, the loonies have been leaving flowers and offerings and bird feathers and there are some strange beliefs. Yeah, I'm not sure whether that's original or whether that's a reconstruction. Nice bit of stonework, wherever it is, but it no, I don't think for 1 minute that early Neolithic had drills and explosives to blast out these. I think that's a fossil remnant. And the birds get angry with me, so I better go. Sorry. Can't see a nest, but it's obviously agitated. It wants me to go. Yeah, someone's cemented these together to stabilise them, which is a shame. I would like to have seen it in its original state. Some of the ones I've seen in Orkney have been brilliant. Some of the ones I see in Dorset and Gloucestershire are equally good. Another roof light. Right. So that's one hell of a stone. And that were put there as a false door after they'd filled all the barrow in. These damn beakers definitely didn't like early Neolithic. I don't forget what you say about people being gradually absorbed into beaker society. Nah, it were a definite we're going to stamp out the early Neolithic way of life and replace it with our own. Right, I'll turn the light off now. Yeah, all of this is later to the barrow. Yeah, that swallow doesn't like people in there. I think it was starting to either collect mud or build a nest in there. Is it a swallow or a smith? It's a swallow. Yeah. So all that is, I think all that's artificial, well not artificial, but built later than the original barrow, early Neolithic barrow. Oh, right, West Kennet Long Barrow, an early preserved, a well-preserved early Neolithic burial mound. At least 36 men, women and children were buried in these stone chambers over 5,500 years ago. The barrow was used for burial for a short period. Well, it was used for about 1,000 years. It was built by about 3,650 BC by an early farming community, just as the sort of nomadic Mesolithic were transforming into a more static Neolithic farming community. It says it was built by people who derived from continental Europe, who only a few generations before now. For about 50 years, they placed their dead into different chambers, grouping them according to age, sex, and perhaps social or family groups. As new people were placed in the chambers, older burials were disturbed and bones rearranged. Yeah, the Beaker people were just what the name suggests. They cremated their dead and placed urns of ashes, usually in the tops of barrows, digging holes and planting them in there, or building their own barrows, their own mounds over the top of urns and sarcens. The next 1,000 years, people regularly returned to the Long Barrow, filling the chambers with earth, ash, chalk, rubble and sarsen stones. Mixed with this material were pottery sheds, flint tools and the bones of both humans and animals. In the early Bronze Age, 3 large stones were placed to block the entrance and file a seal off the chamber. So that's how they envisaged the barrow. As I said, just there's a pinch point, as if it were built in sections. Well, there, actually, the first part with the corridor and chambers, and then a narrowing, like a waist, and a second section, which were probably built later. The chambers of the barrow were built using local sarsen stones with limestone walling in between, the nearest source of which is 10 kilometres away to the west. The 100-metre long barrow was constructed using chalk and earth dug out from 2 parallel ditches with a central core of small sarsen stones. Right, I'll agree with that. 4 male adults, 1 child's skull right at end. Well, let's go from entrance in. First right, there's 1 female adult, 1 male adult, 5 children. Second chamber to the right, 6 female adults, 5 male adults, 2 teenagers. First to the left, 2 female adults, 1 male adult, 1 newborn skull. Second chamber, 3 female adults, 3 male adults, 1 unsexed adult and 1 child skull. 4 male adults, 1 child skull at the end chamber. Now, that's from the bones they could identify, but there'd be a right jumble of disturbed burials and bones around. These pots, perforated bones and beads were found scattered throughout the later filling of the chambers. Yeah, so that's when the I was going to say the Beaker people, but the Beaker people started filling it all in. That's their typical pots. These pots, perforated bones and beads, were found scattered throughout the later filling of the chambers. The beads are made of bone, jet, shale, seashells, mostly transported over long distances from the place of origin. 2 pots called beakers show their people continued to place offerings here into the early Bronze Age. The chambers of the Long Barrow were excavated in 1956. I was going to say 1955, 1956 I'm pleased. I weren't too far out, I'm not that senile yet. By a team of archaeologists led by Stuart Piggott and Richard Atkinson. This part of the southwest chamber they found the burials of a teenager, a young woman and an elderly woman with their skulls placed against the south wall. So which? Teenager, young woman, elderly woman. Yeah, none of that's... yeah, well, wherever they found it, it's not mentioned on here. Probably this one. Yeah. Right. So with that, since it's getting chilly in the wind, which has picked up a lot, I might head back to the car. Bye. Now this is one thing I can't understand with all these weirdo mock pagan religions, why do they tie rags to trees? What's that supposed to be about? I know the Germans did it on the Christmas trees and things. But what the hell has it got to do with England? Particularly non-Celtic England. There's even a tie there, look. Paisley pattern tie. Yeah, well, that's really traditional.